Hi, welcome to the Andy Ramirez Report, VLog17. I'm Andy Ramirez, President and founder of the Law Enforcement Officers Advocates Council, and in this video log, we're going to talk about the latest update on comprehensive immigration reform S744 introduced by the Gang of 8, or as I call them, Gang of Tr8ors, Tr8ors, including the Schumer-Hoeven-Corker amendment that has been allowed to be cut off in the form of debate. That just took place today on Monday, June 24, 2013. And it was passed, this cloture vote was agreed to with 67 Democrat and Republican senators voting in favor of, 27 voting negative or no. Now, first and foremost, let's give you an update on what this all means. The Senate amended a bill, and the purpose of this was to do what they called add a border surge. You see, we're so hung up on using technologies that sound important or terminology that sounds important. You know, they talked about a surge of manpower and what have you in Iraq. They've talked about a surge of manpower and what have you in Afghanistan. Well, now this new term in our lexicon is being added to border security. So they're going to add a surge in U.S. Border Patrol agents, or so they claim. But when one takes a look at the bill, and analysis is provided on the website of United States Senator Jeff Sessions from Alabama, here's what really happens. On this bill, there is no border surge. Agents aren't required until 2021. So it'll never happen. Now, keep in mind, what does it take to hire agents? Well, first of all, you got to get qualified applicant candidates. You got to do background checks. Of course, if it's like what we've already seen, sources indicate that that was long compromised on the previous surge, if you will, when we during the Bush administration, we brought on an additional 5,000 plus Border Patrol agents. Now, keep in mind, when you add, whether it's 5,000 or 20,000, that's a whole lot of applications that have to be gone through with security checks, background checks, and the whole kit and caboodle. And what makes it even more challenging, okay, 5,000. That's enough of a challenge, but now you got to multiply that times 4 to 20,000. Impossible. It's not going to happen. It's fool's gold. They're promising something that's never going to take place. And again, keeping in mind, the last time that there was a so-called surge, the background checks were compromised. Look at agents today getting busted out. Look at agents today being prosecuted. And we're not talking just the bogus prosecutions, but there are some bad dudes that are also wearing pickle suits. Because they're, how can you pass a background check on an individual who has ties to drug smugglers, to human traffickers? You can't let them get serve in these national security agencies. You got to reject the application. But that didn't happen, did it? And who was the chief? Who was the commissioner at the time? Chief of the Border Patrol from 2004 to 2000. What was that? 9-10. David Aguilar, Deputy Commissioner, Acting Commissioner of U.S. Customs and Border Protection. You got it, David Aguilar. He won't be there now, but his hand-picked cronies are still there behind. You have Mike Fisher. He was hand-picked to be the chief of the Border Patrol. Hand-picked to be deputy chief in San Diego sector. Chief of San Diego sector. And anybody who's familiar with what's taking place in the Border Patrol knows he's made a train wreck of it, as has his mentor, David Aguilar. So there's several problems there. Now they talk about manpower. They talk about, that's one issue. Now you have technology. You have the fence. You have, go back to the fence and secondary roads. That was sabotaged by DHS themselves when Congressman Hunter, the then chairman of the House Armed Services Committee, and this is his baby because he proved it worked in San Diego, and he was going to make it work. And it does work. But the problem is, DHS dragged their asses and they sabotaged it. They sabotaged this all along. And this is well known by the House and Senate. Yet, they keep talking about it. Everybody knows DHS is sabotaging this and has done so. They did so under Chertoff, and they've continued to do so under Janet Napolitano. So Democrat, Republican, that hasn't changed. The border infrastructure, as it's called, has been sabotaged. You have secondary roads. That was absolutely sabotaged. The fence and the road, they used substandard materials to get this built. Hell, they imported the steel for the fence themselves from China and Mexico, from the People's Republic of China and Mexico. They didn't put Americans to work by purchasing U.S. steel. No, they bought it from Mexico and Red China. Yeah, way to go, boys. Way to go, secretaries. And they didn't even stamp any of the materials national security, classified, urgent, none of this. So everybody was able to jump in on that thing. So you wonder why we have substandard roads, secondary roads for Border Patrol agents that wash out after just so much rain or storms? Because they used crap. Now, it's not just that. You look at the technology, the virtual fence. You look at the military-industrial complex, Boeing and their virtual fence, and what a money pit and a disaster that was. That was a joke, and it was a joke all along. We know that Raytheon's program worked. I endorsed Raytheon's program. I brought that to the House Foreign Affairs Committee in testimony July 5th, 2006, and showed that it does work and some of the results we have. You can look at AndyRamirez.com documents, my testimony before House Foreign Affairs. You'll see it there. Now, that said, so you've got technology, infrastructure, manpower. Don't forget the border cameras cost $800,000 each. Now, we proved it can be done with far less, and it's a better situation. That's not what the government wanted. $800,000 for crap that doesn't work, that fails in weather where it's too hot or too cold. And it doesn't take much to do either. But we proved our program works. So you've got all this. You've got, going back to this, millions of green cards for permanent residency before enforcement. And that debunks another false claim from sponsors. That they'll do that. GUT's legal requirement for biometric entry-exit system at the ports of entry. That also includes airports. Immediate amnesty before enforcement. No fence requirement. DHS retains discretion in the bill that preempts the call for a fence in 10 years. Litigation also provides an escape hatch to never build a fence, so the fence will never happen. But then again, it's hardly happened in the tenure of Barack Obama as well as Janet Napolitano. Legalization for gang members and convicted criminals? That's insane! What the hell are they thinking? But they're not. They're just interested, as the bill's authors, the Mexican government, the National Council of La Raza, Janet Murguia. I mean, we know who's writing the damn bill. That's why this is being done. Amnesty for future visa overstays. In other words, a prospective amnesty for future illegal aliens. Guaranteed welfare access for illegal aliens. This undermines interior enforcement. ICE officers warn there is no doubt that if passed, public safety will be endangered and massive amounts of future illegal immigration, especially visa overstays, is ensured. And keeping in mind that 40% of illegal immigration today comes from people who stay longer than they're permitted under their visa entry document allows them. It expands non-merit chain migration. Less than 10% of future flow is merit-based, and it'll double the number of guest workers and triple the number of immigrants granted lawful permanent residency, reducing wages for U.S. workers and driving up employment. And it makes a mockery of the whole system of getting in line, requesting permission, and coming in legally. to immigrate for working purposes or otherwise to the United States of America illegally. You've just told everybody that they don't have to wait in line. It is a mockery of the entire system. So it basically tells the world, you can do what you want. We don't have immigration laws. Come right in. You can be a terrorist. You can be a murderer, a gang member, a drug smuggler, a human trafficker. We're not going to stop you. Come on in. Well, this is bullshit, ladies and gentlemen. But this is what they're going to continue to do as long as we, the American people, don't stand up to this. Now, you look at this whole mess. It has to be stopped. They put up this Schumer, Corker-Hoven amendment. But what did it really do? Well, it said all that it would do, which I've clearly shown you what it doesn't do. As an expert, I know what it doesn't do. But what they did was they gave us fool's gold, false promises, lies, speculation for things that are never going to take place, and they know it. And then they voted to cut off debate. And they've repeatedly been cutting off debate. You know, last week they had it so that the time was controlled by Democrats and Republicans, not proponents and opponents of this measure, this U.S. Immigration Capitulation Act of 2013, or as it's also known as Shamnesty. No, they continue to perpetrate this fraud on the American people. They're continuing to lie to you, and we saw 15 Republican senators vote with the Democrats today, so that it has the appearance of a bipartisan effort. But there's nothing that... This is not a bipartisan effort. This is a sellout of the people of the United States of America. And for what? The Mexican government is still going to be corrupt. You know, if we look at the purpose of immigration, why did the ancestors come here from across the world? Because they wanted to get away from corruption. They wanted to get away from tyranny. They wanted to get away from hell. Each of their countries where they felt it was a hell. Okay, I understand that, but we live in a modern world. This is a post-9/11 world. And what's coming across the border today is not what was coming across the border 15 years ago. No, we're talking a different type of traffic. And you have criminals and terrorists mixed in with everybody else. So we don't know who's getting across or how many are getting across. And that's the problem. That will continue to be the problem. And as long as we tell the Mexican government in Central America and South America and Asia and Africa and Europe, send us whoever you want. They can apply or they can just sneak through our border. We're not going to control it. This is going to continue to be a problem because just focus on Mexico here. They're going to send us people they want, just like Castro did in the Mariel boat lift. That didn't stop that. Look at how crime went up after the Mariel boat lift. That's what really happened. We've seen the same thing on the U.S.-Mexican border. But we don't just want the U.S.-Mexican borders secured. We want all of our borders, land, waterway, maritime. We want everything secured because enough of this shit is enough. How do we fix this problem? Call your senators, call your congressmen, and tell them to vote the damn bill down. This bill is garbage, at least with the status quo. And I'm not referring to that, but the laws that are on the books. Let the agents do their job, and it works. The problem is, Secretary Napolitano, like Secretary Chertoff, have had no interest in doing what the law says. And so the flunkies and the cronies inside at CBP and ICE have failed to do their jobs because management has betrayed their oaths. And that is the problem. We, the American people, have to stop this before they destroy what's left of our country. You got to tell the Mexican governments to bugger off. You tell them enough is enough, take care of their own affairs, and we need to cut off some money because it's time they stop getting your taxpayer dollars and mine in order to just continue to play this game here. No, we need to take our government, we, the American people, instead of letting foreign governments run our government. Because that's bullshit. I'm going to continue to follow this, and I'll get you more info as I can. Thanks for watching.